Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Kubo and the Two Strings. Kubo feels like a very different kind of movie from Laika. I don't know if they really have a typical kind of movie. They've all been fairly different, but the previous ones, Coraline, Paranorman, and the Box Trolls have felt a lot more horror-based. And Kubo feels a lot more like the young adult adventure book that's advanced reading in your elementary school that you really liked as a kid. And is a lot more epic and surreal and strange and different from anything they've ever done. It's definitely different from the other films. I don't know if it's... I guess it is a kind of artistic departure, but in kind of a pleasant way. I think this fits their style quite naturally, almost so naturally. Kind of think that this is something they've done before, even though it really isn't. And it kind of shows how the studio can take on various different kinds of films and how good they can be at it. It's probably their film that I've enjoyed the most. It is definitely going to go down as one of their better films. It has all the makings of a great animated kids literature type of epic. Now, it's not excellent at it. It's not an amazing hero's journey, and it feels like it's taking the Joseph Campbell Power of Myth thing to kind of almost a filling out diagram level of doing a screenplay, but it definitely still works for itself despite all that. And having a very unique animation style, particularly because of the stop motion, which we don't really get to see many feature films that are entirely stop motion anymore, even though we have more than we used to. It's still a rare occurrence nonetheless, and its use of surreal and striking imagery throughout really makes it a quite memorable animated film that we've never really seen from Laika before. This is probably visually their strongest film and really shows the best of what Laika has to offer, or at least so far. In ancient Japan, a young boy named Kubo has been living in a cave with his sick mother, who he cares for, outside of a village. During the day, he goes to the village and plays his two-string guitar and reimagines various tales he's been told by his mother through origami that he can make come to life through his guitar. And he does that and has a pleasant life, but then during the festival, he stays a little too long, and his mom has always told him to always come back to the cave before it's dark, and he stays out past dark, and then his aunts come to kind of take him away and take his other eye, as Kubo has the good luck of being an awesome eye patch wearing guitar player, although he doesn't see it that way, but he looks pretty awesome. His two aunts come to take his other eye, and his mom has to come and save him, so he goes on a hero's quest with a monkey and a beetle to try to get this armor that was his father's so he can protect himself from his aunts and his grandfather before they take his other eye. Obviously, if you're seeing a film by Laika, you're definitely seeing it for the animation, and Kubo and the Two Strings is a great film to see for its animation. It has a very surreal, kind of very striking quality. There's a part where Kubo is underwater that is so strange and surreal and eye-catching in more ways than one, that it's just so beautiful. A lot of the images and how they frame the shots, and just like shocking how good they are. I don't think I've seen Laika be as strong visually as they are in this film. It adds to it because since they're on an adventure on this hero's quest, it feels like you're in a very unique space. You're in a foreign, different land. It feels like you're reading a graphic novel or a book and you're being transported to a different world, like ancient Japan, through a different time. It really gets you to connect with this kind of different story because everything around you looks unique and different. And I think Laika was able to use their own unique style to kind of emphasize that. One thing I do like about them is their character designs. I mean, you can tell it's Laika, but in a way it's like, this doesn't look exactly like Box Trolls or Paranorman, or I guess a little Coraline, but they feel kind of different in a lot of ways. In this film, although it does look Laika, it doesn't look as identifiable, I guess, or as similar. Maybe. I rarely see things in 3D, but I saw this in 3D and the depth was very amazing. And Laika, of course, has been always really good at 3D, and this film is no exception to that, but especially like how they use the lighting in this. I know that's more of like the kind of the CG computer kind of animation studio thing to do lighting like this, but I don't think I've seen lighting like this in a stop motion film. The way they use color, the way they make all the set pieces, just like the simple set pieces, just opens you up to a whole new world of character designs and villains and challenges for these characters to go through. It's as exciting to see these characters progress through their hero's journey as it is to see what Laika has coming up at that next set piece or the next part of their hero's journey, because they always have something amazing and awe-inspiring coming up each time. It's as rewarding as an audience member to see what's going to happen with the characters as it is to see what the animators are going to come up with next. Now, this is the directorial debut of Travis Knight, who is the CEO and owner person, I guess, or the boss of Laika. His dad owns Nike, and he bought Laika, which was another studio before that, but I won't get into that. I'm actually quite impressed with how well directed this is, especially considering it was him who most of us, I don't think, had the greatest opinion of. I don't know his background entirely. He really has a way with visuals in this, and I think if visually this film didn't work as well, it wouldn't be as memorable. In some ways, a lot of the themes of this film are very strong and very mature, and it kind of hides it in there, particularly how it talks about death, which I'm noticing a kind of theme going through like this and even The Little Prince recently, where they're kind of talking about death in a more mature way than you expect for an animated film that's mainly targeting children, which I really like that. I like trying to take on mature topics but do it in a way that can be acceptable for kids, but having a better attitude towards that as well. It's a lot healthier. It's something that I mentioned this in The Little Prince, but it's worth repeating, that it is like what classic Hollywood used to do. They'd sneak in these morals into their movies just so the censors wouldn't notice them, but also so the studio heads wouldn't, and they could tell their own artistic story. And I think Kubo does that very well with what it's saying about death. But the one thing about this screenplay is it's so rudimentary in a lot of ways. There's certain big revelations that happen, and it almost feels like they breeze by them so quickly you can't really dwell on them. I often feel like when I'm seeing a Laika film, they do breeze by things so quickly. It almost feels a little too quick. They don't dwell on them enough. They don't let you dwell on the character moment that represents enough. But it's all kind of like written in this way that it kind of like moves from beat to beat to beat, almost like you're reading a book aimed at 12-year-olds, and it has to have like these moments going and regularly so they don't get bored. So it almost feels like that's kind of the style. It would be inappropriate to break from that, but I kind of like it, and I think it works. If this film wasn't so well directed and the animation wasn't as detailed and amazing and different as it is, I don't know if this film would be as good. There's a section in the credits that is just like regular traditionally animated, and I was thinking like, I don't think I would like this film as much. I don't think the story and the screenplay are as tight as really the direction and the visuals are complementing it and wrapping it all together. Now, obviously, that is the package we're getting, so this is actually a fairly good movie. I never like really loved Paranorman, or especially Box Trolls, and I watched Coraline. I'm fine with it, but this is the first Laika film that I really liked, and really liked what it was doing, and really was surprised by it. I'm kind of glad they went in a different direction. I think it's an interesting thing to do kind of more of an animated epic hero's journey type of tale, and doing it in a way that's not necessarily entirely challenging for kids, but also kind of bringing in those challenging elements through a story that's easier to go down, but having these amazing, impressive, really beautiful visuals. It's almost like if someone took a script of like Tintin or something and had different, stranger, surreal illustrations going on throughout it. I guess that's pretty much Kubo, but it has all that fun of having those kind of great adventure stories, and it really does have a lot of fun in it. It is kind of a very fun, epic adventure tale. I'm sure if I was a kid when this came out, I would absolutely love it, because I liked fun adventure tales. It is a rather good one. The voice cast was actually fairly good. Charlize Theron, I really liked. Matthew McConaughey as the Beetle was funny and actually scene stealing in a way that reminds you of why the reconnaissance really happened, but Charlize Theron to me is really kind of the star of it. I like the kid Art Parkinson's, and you wouldn't even recognize Ralph Fiennes, because I sure as hell didn't, as the grandfather. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait, that's Ralph Fiennes? I thought it just felt like someone I knew, but I couldn't like place it, and then later I found it, but I couldn't tell I was watching the movie. It was Ralph Fiennes. Rooney Mara is almost so perfectly cast as like the evil sisters, the evil aunts. It's almost like too perfect. I kind of made me think she should play more villains in live action films. This was actually a very good role for her, probably one of my favorite roles I've seen her her in, and a lot of people have said it's like one of the most Rooney Mara roles she's ever had, and I definitely agree with that. She just plays into it so well. Her voice works so well. It's almost like more about casting than acting, but she had a lot of fun acting it regardless of that. And George Takei, who's not really in it that much, and having Charlize Theron as this kind of kick-ass monkey really worked for it. Charlize Theron, I think, certainly brings a certain gravitas to her kind of more action roles, and she brings a gravitas to Kubo and the Two Strings as well. This is the kind of good adventure, epic, kind of animated kids film that you could watch with an older kid middle school and not have to have uncomfortable discussions about, but you can still have an awesome, epic, good time that they're not going to soon forget. In addition, it's a very different animated film. I think it's interesting how open Laika is to different kind of stories and such. It felt like Paranorman and Coraline are going more in the horror thing, and I guess Box Trolls was kind of more in that vein as well. That it seems that they want to take on different cultures and different experiences and show that in an animated film. I guess that's similar to how Box Trolls was doing that in kind of English culture, and this is more Japanese culture and different experiences, and show that in an animated film. I guess that's similar to how Box Trolls was doing that in kind of English culture, and this is more Japanese culture. Although, to be honest, it'd be easy to forget that because everyone's using these very American accents, but you know, there are samurais and swords in it, so you won't soon forget that. It does actually shoot the action sequences quite well. It felt like I was watching a samurai movie. It reminded me of a lot of samurai movies during the action sequences, and it showed they actually knew the visual language that they were using a lot of time, which was nice. Probably more so than when they try to recall horror movies, and it doesn't really actually work that well in Paranorman, or at least not for me. Maybe for you, I don't know. Although it takes a while and it doesn't properly develop its characters and big revelation, it just kind of goes like, hey, I'm the monkey, I'm protecting you, let's go, we got this plot moving. It's more about its plot than its characters. That does actually work in a way. It kind of just gets around to developing them, but it almost doesn't work as well because I don't have as much connection to the characters, but I thought it kind of worked in kind of that bland adventure kind of story way. It kind of had a nice energy and life to it, particularly through the direction of Travis Knight, and he ended up making probably one of the better Laika films. I think it's my favorite and best in terms of story and script and overall visuals than Laika's ever made before. It shows Laika has probably even a brighter future than we thought before if they can take on such different kind of films. And I'm kind of more willing to go on a different journey with them after seeing and going on the hero's journey of Kubo and the Two Strings. It has beautiful character designs. It has beautiful cinematography. I really love the animation. I think Laika really outdid themselves with this film, and it's probably one of the better animated films I've seen this year. It's definitely one of the more fun and unique, and it's always fun to go on these great adventure hero's journey type of tales, and Kubo and the Two Strings is actually fairly good at that. I don't think we get real hero's tales done in a very action adventure-y way. It's usually more focused on the action, but this is more focused on the adventure. And I like going on an epic adventure with Kubo and a monkey and a beetle and trying to find all the pieces of the armor. It might be a little silly, and it does rush through its film a little too quickly in the typical kind of Hergé Tintin type of way, where you don't really get to know the characters as well. Almost like a very tightly written young adult novel you buy at the Scholastic Book Fair, but it still was very good at that, and I really don't mind that. Certainly, I think the way this film is directed and how visually stunning this film is lets it get away with a lot of its faults story-wise, but honestly, towards the end, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about how it did everything it did and how awe-inspiring and amazing that was. To go on a hero journey with Kubo and the Two Strings and fight back against evil, have these amazing shots and see this amazing animation, and go on a once-in-a-lifetime journey and realize I saw a once-in-a-lifetime type of stop-motion film. And really, I'm just happy with that and happy to experience another peak with Laika and stop-motion animation. So if you have seen Kubo and the Two Strings and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.